Today, we wanted to show you how to make a dish that's become increasingly popular here in China, Huangmenjimifan, braised chicken rice. Now, this is a dish that's originally from the Shandong province and is, at its base, basically some chicken braised with sweet bean paste and soy sauce. Recently, though, there's been a huge swath of Huangmenji joints opening up around the country, led by one chain in particular called Yangmingyu. Their version's a bit different than the very most traditional Shandong Huangmenji, but it tastes great and might as well go along with the culinary zeitgeist. So today, we'll be making this fast food version. To get started with braised chicken rice, you'll need chicken. Here we had 500 grams of chicken thigh. The traditional Shandong type would just use a whole chicken, and you could also just do that if you want. Now, this is one of those Chinese poultry on the bone dishes. I'd heavily recommend just sucking it up and learning how to eat around bones, but if that prospect does scare you, feel free to just use whole chicken wings. They're a little harder to eat in the end, but still work okay. But assuming you're okay with some cleaving, grab a thigh, cut up a couple extra chunks of meat to make it a bit more even, and with force, chop it up. If you find your cleaver ever sticking into the bone, just keep it in and smack the rest of the thigh down against your board to cut it. Alternatively, if you want an easier time cleaving, you could also get some wings and just chop each part in half, definitely easier to start out with. Now with those cleaved, marinate that with 1 tablespoon each of light soy sauce, liaojiu aka Shaoxing wine, and cornstarch. Give that a real thorough mix and set it aside for at least 15 minutes. Now, before we get into the other ingredients, I do have a bit of a mea culpa. See this? This is dacong. It's one of the go-to aromatics in northern China. I've been calling it leek because, it looks a lot like leek and it's what everyone else seems to translate it as. Dacong, though, is Allium fistulum and actually much more closely related to scallion than leek, which is Allium ampeloprasum. These are used in Korean and Japanese cooking too, but if you can't find them, just use the white part of some scallion instead. 1 inch of dacong should be equal to about 1 of these white portions. So with that out of the way, we'll be frying this with 1 inch crushed ginger, about 5 inches of dacong, so you can sub that with 5 scallion whites, and 2 star anise. Now this is the jiangxiang flavor profile, which relies on 2 heaping tablespoons of tianmianjiang sweet bean paste, which is interestingly neither sweet nor actually made from beans, 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Then, for the braising liquid, this fast food version usually uses a soaking liquid from reconstituting dried shiitake mushrooms. So that was 4 mushrooms reconstituted in half a liter of hot, boiled water for about 1 hour, or feel free to use cool water and soak for 8, then tear the mushrooms into smaller pieces, and be sure to keep that liquid. Now, some fast food Huangmenji joints, at least here in Shenzhen, seem to love to load up on the dried chilies and make this spicy. Totally feel free to add a few if you want, but we personally prefer it with a more isolated jiangxiang flavor. So the only chilies we're adding are half a green and red mild chili, cut into sections to just finish things off, and feel free to swap for bell pepper instead. Before stir frying, we're going to pass this chicken through oil. Now, I know a lot of people tune out whenever we do this step, but this really doesn't need that much oil. It's almost more of a shallow fry. 2 cups of oil would definitely be enough. So get that oil up to a blistering 200 centigrade and drop in the chicken pieces. What we're looking for is the exterior of the chicken to get a sort of reddish-brown hue, so feel free to alternatively stir-fry this chicken too. Just make sure that it looks basically like this in the end. For us, this was about 3 minutes over max flame, so take out the chicken and let the oil strain out. Now to stir-fry. As always, first, lang yao. Get that wok piping hot, shut off the heat, add in the oil, here about 2 tablespoons, and give it a swirl to get a nice nonstick surface. Flame on medium now. Immediately go in with the aromatics and the star anise. Fry those till fragrant, about 45 seconds, then scooch them up the side of the wok and add in the tianmianjiang sweet bean paste. Fry that for about 30 seconds until it ever so slightly starts to stick to the wok, then pour a tablespoon of liaojiu aka Shaoxing wine over your spatula and around the sides of the wok. Give that a quick 15-second mix together, then do the same move with your light soy sauce. Combine, then go in with the sugar and let that dissolve in about 15 seconds. Then pour in your now strained mushroom soaking liquid, up your flame to high, add in the chicken, the mushrooms, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper powder, and get that all up to a boil. Now, you can totally keep this going in here, but for wok seasoning management purposes, we personally chose to swap this into a clay pot. But either way, cover and keep it at a heavy simmer for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, our liquid's reduced by about 1/4. So because we really wanted to go all out and mimic those fast food joints, we chose to then transfer that to 4 individually portioned clay pots. I know you probably won't walk that mile with us, so just keep things uncovered and boil on high until reduced by 1/2 in all. At that point, season with an optional 1/4 teaspoon of MSG and thicken with a slurry of a teaspoon of cornstarch mixed with a tablespoon of water. Then nestle in your peppers, drizzle in a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, cover, and serve. Be sure to eat that alongside some white rice to sop up all that braising liquid, and with that, your Huangmenji is done.
So if you're having this at fast food joints, you can choose to add more stuff to it. For example, you can do enoki mushrooms, potato chunks, tofu puffs, daikon, whatever. So you can also play with it and find your favorite. So check out the Reddit link in the description box for a detailed recipe. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. And of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.